12 days' time, they're going to go at it again. I'm very excited. I know you all are, as are the guys alongside me. Promoter Eddie Hearn, Cruiserweight World Champion Johnny Nelson, and very own Johnny Nelson, Head of Boxing Adam Smith, and a man that has been in the ring with Whyte Chisora, knocked him out, and now looks after him. Boxer turned promoter David Haye. Really good to have you along. Eddie, it was an absolute old school slugfest, wasn't it, first time out? The fight itself was amazing, but the press conference as well, that had a little bit of spice as well.
That wasn't amazing. I think I'm all right. Yeah. That was definitely one for the book in the future. Stuff that happened around it, the making of the first fight, the first press conference, and then coming down here straight after for the gloves are off. And I just remember that gloves are off, just sitting there in the green room watching it at the time, and it was just getting more and more intense, more and more intense. I think I was thinking to myself, I can't believe we've never had any trouble at one of these gloves are off. And literally, next thing, the water's gone on, the glass has gone in, people were rolling around on the floor. And I just remember leaving the green room and running down the corridor to the studio. But as I was running, I was thinking, what are you going to do when you get there? Absolutely nothing at all. And I just opened the door and it was like a whirlwind. You know, Johnny was in the middle. And, you know, it wasn't great for boxing. You know, there's a lot of criticism about the first fight. Then we had the infamous press conference where me and Adam looked like we were dancing to some kind of, 1990s rave tunes. When Chisora was throwing the table at the press conference. And again, you know, we nearly lost that fight. On the Thursday, we were called before the British Boxing Board of Control. And I think by one vote, they decided to let the fight go ahead. And it could have been all very different. You know, we could have missed out on a heavyweight classic. We could have missed out on number 2. But the makings of this fight is very strange because for a year we tried to make this fight and the egos wouldn't allow it. You know, Chisora felt like he won the first fight. Dillian Whyte started improving, then Chisora lost. And it was only really that night in July where both fighters had their career best victories that made this possible again. And, you know, I didn't think he was going to get over the line. And, you know, when people talk about David, I think without David, actually, this fight probably wouldn't have got made because he had enough sense to say, no, guys, this is the fight. This is the fight for both of you. This is the fight for the fans. This is the fight for Sky. And now we're here to go again. And I think we're going to get exactly the same fight. Two guys that are going to try and break each other. You know, not just their chins, but their hearts and their attrition to try and be the victor.
We only had 10 minutes to talk at the top.
Sorry, yeah, I'll probably go on a bit.
Johnny, there's no secret that the two of them dislike each other. They don't like each other at all. Why is that, do you think?
I think these guys are very, very similar. That's simple as that. I think they don't like hearing it. I got an experience of that in the last gloves are off, mentioning that. It's like just punching them both in the eye. They got, excuse my French, pissed off in saying that. But they're very similar. They both wear their heart on their sleeves. They both are very emotional individuals. I think they're both grown up massively from the last fight. I also think that looking at the shape of Dylan, looking at the shape of Derek, he actually looks in better shape then in preparation for this fight. I don't think it's going to be the same fight. I think this fight is going to be explosive from the off. But both fighters very mature. They've got to try to hold down a little bit until they get in the ring. But this fight is going to be mad.
Just how much do you enjoy doing those gloves are off?
It's all right for Adam and Eddie and everybody else sat in the back room whispering in my ear, saying, ask him this, ask him that. And I'm going to pretend to ignore certain things they say. And when it kicks off, it kicks off. You guys, the stuff that's left on the cutting room floor, you've no idea. And they should make a great little movie about that when we're like 50 or 60 years on. But they are very exciting. I think they're very exciting. I think he says so much. Boxing's the only game that you can't play at. You can't pretend. And if you're faking something like that, the gloves are off tells us, and it gives you a lot of insight on both individuals. You've got some cool guys. You've got some guys that are very emotional. Derek and Dylan and Derek are very well matched when it comes to that sort of stuff because they're for real. And actually, I think they get on in another life. But unfortunately, they're in a business where it's competition, and they want to kick the shit out of each other. So that's just how it is.
We quite like that, though. Adam, you've commentated on some huge fights. But where does the first one, where does that rank for you?
I think it ranks right up there, Anna. It was a fantastic fight. As Eddie said, the build-up was extraordinary. The table throwing, the stuff that happened here, but fundamentally, they earned so much respect from what actually happened in the ring. I agree and disagree with Johnny because I thought it was explosive last time, and I think it'll be even more explosive this time with Derek training under David and his guys like Ruben Tavares. I think Derek's going to be in phenomenal shape this time. So, listen, it was a great fight. We love rematches. We love heavyweight boxing. Heavyweight boxing is, of course, hugely in the news at the moment with AJ and with Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. And these guys, you know, the winner of this can go on to massive fights in 2019. But the first one as a pure heavyweight spectacle, one of the great ones we've had on Sky over the years. It was nip and tuck all the way. Some people felt Dillian won it, some people felt Derek won it, and I can't see the second one being anything but as exciting. I think we know how Derek Chisora fights, we know what he's going to do, and I think what happened in July with Dillian getting his best career win over Joe Parker and Derek coming back from the brink against Carlos Takam, he'd taken so much punishment for so long, but to find the shots that, you know, that really gave him this golden ticket back into the heavyweight world. Now he's got David. What a great story that is after their history. I think it's all set up. We love narrative in boxing, and this is perfect. It's going to be a great pre-Christmas cracker on Saturday week.
David, you said to me outside before that Derek Chisora, he's in the form of his life. He's looking great. How much are you looking forward to the second one?
A lot. I like what Derek's. I like his mindset. The fact that he put all prior beef and animosity and ego aside to come and say, Dave, you know, could you help me get the win in this fight? For me, you know, that showed that he's willing to do whatever it takes, because I would never have thought up until that point he'd do that. But he's working harder than he's ever worked before. You know, I was speaking to Don Charles, who's coached him for many years, and he said he's never seen him this fit. He said he's never got him training in the gym, lives in a hotel, he's just back and forth, eating, sleeping, training. That's never been the case. He's normally going to this restaurant here with his buddies here, and he's flying here, he's in the club here. He's cut all of that out now, and he's living like a real professional should. You know, real cheering, but he should always have been doing this in the past, but he's had the success he's had over the years, living the way he's been living. Now that he's living as a true professional, I feel we'll see the best of Derek. You know, even when he fought me, someone said he was in a restaurant that same day and he was late to the fight because he was in Scots, I think. I'm like, what's up with this guy? These are real, genuine stories. So none of that anymore, and he's living and breathing it. And it feels to me as though he would have wished he'd always been living this type of lifestyle, because you can see it in his body, you can see it in the results in training, and on fight night, where he ran out of steam in the mid part of the fight, he set ahead of a pace, but hadn't done the work behind the scenes to maintain that pace for 12 rounds. You can't have a 12-round slugfest if you haven't really paid the price in training. To fight how he set about the fight, you need to be in tremendous condition, and he wasn't back then. He was in good, fair British European level condition. But for this fight against this version of Dillian Whyte, who's not only had got the nod on him 2 years ago, but who's, you know, heavily put down Joseph Parker, who had probably arguably one of the best chins in heavyweight boxing at the time. Granite chin, never dropped in sparring or in a boxing match. He put him down heavy with that left hook. You know, he hurt AJ terribly when they fought with that big same left hook. He knocked Lucas. I think he's still asleep now. Lucas Brown. The shot that he put out. This is what Dillian Whyte's now bringing to the table. So, if there was ever a time for Derek to put his socks up and give it 100% in training, it's now. And fortunately, he got that memo. And both fighters, in my opinion, have both improved. Dillian has done it publicly. Derek has done it privately, behind the scenes. If Derek can perform when the lights are on, when the cameras are rolling, like he's been performing behind closed doors, we've got ourselves another classic.
Eddie, how much are rivalries like this one a promoter's dream?
Yeah, they are. Sometimes, like, the first fight wasn't overly pleasant. You know, you still get people who think that table was made out of polystyrene and it was all like a setup. It's unbelievable. And, you know, Chisora is one of those guys where it's just, It just happens like that. You know, Dylan's different. Dylan is always ready to go. You know, but Derek's just like, can be the nicest man in the world, and he is the nicest man in the world. Just something, it can be a word. You know, at the press conference we were saying, for this fight, you know, Dylan just said to him, listen, I feel sorry for your family. And it was just like, I just looked in the eyes and I went, oh no. And he just sort of said, well, what are you talking about my family? I thought, oh. And that's him, he's a fighter. You know, the difference is, when Derek is on it and when he wants it, he's a tough man. When he went to Monaco and he fought Kayabel, he couldn't give a monkeys. He just turned up, he was going through the motions.
We often say, don't we, which Chisora's going to turn
Yeah,
up.
but in this environment, on a pay-per-view card, at a sold-out O2 Arena, there's only one kind of Chisora turns up, because he did it against Takam. You know, he was fighting for his career against Carlos Takam. I didn't give him much chance in that fight, and after 2 or 3 rounds, I was thinking, this is the end of Derek Chisora. He soaked it up, and he knocked Takam out. No, you know, hardly anyone does that. You know, no one had Takam in as much trouble as Chisora. Povetkin had him hurt in the fight, but, you know, Takam's a tough man. And Chisora fought it out. When he fancies it and when he's on it, he's very hard to break. And, you know, I think under David and just the animosity in this fight and just the pride in this fight will mean that he will be on it. And Dylan Whyte will have to break Derek Chisora in the fight. And I believe he'll do it. You know, and Derek will be pushing to break Dylan Whyte. Maybe he can do it. But I'll leave that to my esteemed colleague.
Well, shall we remind ourselves of that first fight? Let's do that. Enjoy Bad Blood.